I like to say, spiritual godmother of the Howard Dean campaign, director of grassroots organizing. Zephyr and I worked a lot with when I was embedded up in Burlington.
Yes, and in one very exciting road trip, I went to, got a bunch of documents and charts from Josh Koenig and Zach Exley.
Right.
And I went into Trippy's office and said, I want to go see them. And he said, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I said, but trust me on this. And so he let me go down to New York, and I stayed with Britt and Zach, and I schemed and tried to build something. Yeah,
and we memorialized that
yes.
in that one blog post, and took a screenshot of the white paper.
Right.
And we weren't able to build much of it.
Anyway, yeah, it's fun.
But interesting that all those elements are in the iYear platform, of course. So, you know, we're looking at a retrospective of PDF 2004 through 2008. Interesting period of years, 2004 can cycle, and now this cycle. You had certain hopes, dreams, aspirations about what might happen. What did happen? What do you like that happened? What do you like that didn't happen? What's missing?
Well, you maybe have to be more specific in the questions.
It's an essay test, kiddo.
I mean, to be frank, in May 2004, I was so focused on the Kerry campaign and hoping the Kerry campaign won that my hopes were about 5 months ahead. I mean, having just imploded with the Dean campaign, it was hard to think much beyond the particular political objectives. What did I think would happen that was different than what has happened? I actually thought that, not necessarily Meetup.com, but the Meetup model would be far more universal than it is now. I think something that has been surprising and disappointing surprising is how local, continuous, repeated group participation in presidential campaigns has not been a central part of this election cycle, the exception being Ron Paul. And a notable exception, yesterday I ran into the, what is it, Army Grannies, the Independence Grannies, outgrowth of the Ron Paul campaign. Only possible really to imagine them being an outgrowth of the Ron Paul campaign, because the Ron Paul campaign met repeatedly over a several-month period and created strong social ties between people who are not meeting at one-off events and not just meeting at canvassing events, but meeting to collectively organize. And so then when the campaign's over, they then go on and create their own organizations, and that's very, very exciting for me. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the presidency. I think it's the least democratic institution. There's some good possible limited roles for it. Hamilton had some nice ideas about why the presidency would be less corrupt than the Senate, but on the whole, I don't think it's our proudest institution, and it certainly sucks a lot of the energy out of our political attention for 2.5 years. So if we're gonna have the presidency, it looks like we have it, I'd like presidential campaigns to bring some good besides their own success, and to create something in their wake that is true civic life. I'm a little disappointed, to be frank, about the more technocratic focus of the campaigns as opposed to the civic focus of the campaigns. I'm not surprised. I didn't know who it would be, but by the shift to small donors. I think we knew that we hadn't even come close to the limit. And I remember this because reporters would call and they would say, so do you think, you know, one of the reasons that the Dean campaign failed, we have so many reasons, is there are only 500,000 people who want to give money? You think maybe that's the limit in the country of progressives, and we've hit the limit. And this was a serious question, is that you just couldn't grow anymore. And we said, no, in fact, we think we failed because we actually stopped growing at some point. And so we attributed, I think rightly, the lack of growth to our own strategic mistakes. And now the Obama campaign has proven, I don't think they've reached the limit, not even close. They've proven that the limit is far, far, far higher than we thought in terms of the number of people who want to directly contribute to campaigns financially and in other volunteer ways. Something that is a little surprising is actually how slow that shift has been inside the infrastructure of campaigns. So although there was, with the Barack Obama's campaign, a real investment on the internet team, still a major part of the early Obama, certainly of the Clinton, Romney, we're spending a lot more money on fundraisers who are making money off of $80,000 dinners that cost them $40,000 to put on. So it's sort of a slower shift than actually seemed rational or seemed likely in 2004.
Yeah.
What else? There's so much. It's
Well,
4 years.
Yeah. Wow.
It's 4 years and video has happened.
There you go.
I mean, the video is the centerpiece of the what's happening online and how the internet is changing political campaigns this year. I don't think we had any idea how quick it would move, how quickly YouTube would dominate the landscape. I think we might have expected more citizen-created mashup videos than exist. I mean, it's actually a relatively small number for the campaigns. But we certainly wouldn't have expected that it would play the role that it did.
And macaca.
Right, exactly. Right. The sort of the democratization of gotcha politics is something that we did not expect, or I did not expect. So.
Now, one question: we hit the 600,000 nominal members and 150,000 fairly active members. Do you feel there were some sort of quasi-architectural reasons within the platform we were using, the outreach tools, the viral tools? I mean, that may be a piece of it, do you think? There were no Facebooks. We had no model of one of these things just keeping going.
So, a piece of what? I'm sorry.
About
the limit or about the...
Yeah.
So I actually think that people will handle a lot of... people will go over a lot of hurdles and walk through a lot of mud and reintroduce themselves 100 times if they really want to get somewhere. And if they really feel like they're going to be powerful and useful and interesting when they get there. And they will walk through not even the sort of most gleaming front hall if they feel like it's a waste of time. So I think that it is always good to improve the architectural structure, but by far the most important thing is a sense of purpose and a sense of what the appropriate role of the citizen is in a campaign. So yeah, sure, it might have been a couple hundred more thousand people, maybe not. But I have probably less of your intuition that the smoothness of the software experience matters. Certain things matter. Great event organizing tools, you can't do without them. But a great event organizing tool with that breaks 10% of the time is still going to be used by people who care. And one that never breaks isn't going to be used by people who feel like the event isn't worth getting to.
Right.
So it's my version of Rick Warren, you know, the purpose-driven politics.
Well, we'll resolve that.
Oh, yeah, you're gonna prove me wrong,
well,
right?
You'd like that, wouldn't you?
No, well, I mean, I think it's interesting. The Ron Paul woman today was, I think, rightly saying, had a lot of really insightful things to say, and she tended to respond to questions more on the level of responsibility, sort of democratic language, and less on the level of tools. Well, the Ron Paul campaign had far more events and people donating than should have happened because of the tools. I think that the Ron Paul campaign and the Huckabee campaign, which had higher traffic than Ron Paul, Obama, and Clinton for several months, neither of them had brilliant tools. They had enough tools to make things possible, but I tend to think it's not the tools.
Well, we will find out.
Right.
Zephyr Teachout, thank you very much.